Hey, what's up? I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Kaylee.
Today, we're going to be talking about the TV show series The Arrow and The Flash, which both air on the CW.
And we'll keep it brief summaries because we assume that you've already seen the episodes because this definitely has spoilers in it. So they'll be very brief.
If not, you're gonna be missing a lot.
Well, first off, we have Arrow. So it's nice to see the Arrow gang back for season 3. If you do need a little bit of a catch up on what's happening so far, basically Ollie is everybody's favorite superhero. Sarah died and Oliver suspects the League, which is not unrealistic, but it was actually Roy Boy who did it. And then obviously Laurel is pretty pissed about that, and so now she's hired like a boxer. She's hired somebody to teach her how to fight because she needs to beef up because she's kind of like weak as right now. So important. And then Thea left Starling after she found out that Roy was with Arrow. She's kind of training with her villain daddy now, and now she's returning back to Starling City. So
Captain Jack Harkness.
Yes.
I've really liked the series so far. The things that kind of have struck me about this season. First of all, the relationship between Oliver and Felicity, I think it's cute. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about shipping them romantically, partially because I know that, in the comic series, Black Canary and Green Arrow together, so it's a little bit weird to me. But I think it's interesting the way that Oliver's all, I can't be both Oliver Queen and the Arrow. Like, he's got the whole Batman, I need to be the hero the city needs, which I kind of find funny because Green Arrow and Batman can't stand each other. Also, at the end of last season, if you don't know, there was the whole hullabaloo going down, and Roy he's trying to reconcile with Thea, and she's all, you need to promise me you're not gonna lie to me again, and then he goes and lies to her face, which, I mean, from the audience's perspective, it makes sense because, Thea, you don't know whose side she's on, she's in it for herself, and you don't know what she would do with that information, but at the same time, it's Roy didn't really know that, so why would he go and just lie to her face, and that kind of bothered me, not gonna lie. And Thea, I'm really curious this season as to whose side she's gonna end up on, is she gonna be a villain, is she gonna be a hero? Will she side with her dad, or will she side with Oliver? I mean, I think that's going to be a really important part of the season. And then, finally, I think we need some serious explanation on to why Roy killed Sarah, because I know it's important character development because we have to have Laurel as Black Canary. That's part of the comic books, but I have no idea why Roy killed Sarah, and that's just bothering me a lot.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see where all that goes. It's definitely, I think season 3 has the most potential so far of all the seasons. And speaking of potential, can we talk about The Flash? Hell to the yes, am I right or am I right?
You're right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I've been super ridiculously excited about. The Flash is my favorite superhero. I've always kind of related to both Barry and Wally West as the Flash. Spoilers. Not really. That's not really spoilers because Wally's not in it, which I really, really hope that Wally's in it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, they might add him in later. I mean, we don't really know much about...
Well, you don't know. Right now, I don't know if they have Iris having a sibling because Wally was Iris's nephew, but we'll figure that out later. So far in The Flash, what's happened, basically Barry was in that big explosion, which I think was actually an Arrow, which served as the backdoor pilot to The Flash, and so The Flash starts up 9 months later. Barry wakes up in Star Lab and he realizes he has super speed and super metabolism, and it's super awesome. Anyway, he has these powers, and then he realizes that he wasn't the only person affected by the explosion of the particle accelerator. I think it was a particle accelerator. So there's more metahumans, which is what they call them, and that's also what they call them in the DC universe, which is kind of cool. So he and his Flash team decide that they're going to start tracking down all of the other metahumans. His team consists of Caitlin, Cisco, Dr. Harrison Wells, who we'll talk about him later, and also kind of Joe West, who is Iris's father. He starts to get on board with the whole Flash thing once he figures out that it's Barry. Yeah, anyway, Joe is kind of on board with that because all these new villains that have come in, he can't really handle, which is understandable because so far we've seen Captain Cold, The Mist, and in a flashback, flashback. That was really bad. We saw Professor Zoom, who is the Flash's arch nemesis in the comics, and I think he was the one who killed Barry's mom, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think the Flash will be one of the most exciting things that we talk about. I think we're equally excited about there being a Flash at all. I mean, I love the Flash and everything, not necessarily as much as you, but what really put me on cloud 9 was Grant Gustin. I mean, Grant Gustin, man. I am so happy to see him in this kind of a role. I mean, I've always I watched him in the Lifetime movie and on Glee, and I was like, you know, he's got so much potential. I just love to see him in something that is more him. And I definitely think, like, nail head hit it with the casting there. And I really like the setup for the show, too. If you're a comic buff, you know, they have all the little comic hints and everything like that that just make you lose your and everything. But I like that, like Arrow, they definitely are going to do their own adaptations to these sort of things, and so you get more, like, if you've read the comics, you're like, oh snap, but you don't know how it's gonna happen, like the plot twist. Also, we kind of touched on it, Dr. Harrison Wells. I mean, that is just, I don't even know. I watch every single episode like, excuse me? Who do you think you are? I mean, he seems like a villain, but so far all of the really bad things he's done have been, like, to protect the Flash. So I'm not really sure how I feel about him at the moment. I'm kind of leaning toward villain, not sure. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to with his storyline, and Eddie and Caitlin and Cisco, who are all, like, huge comic things, that little Easter eggs.
I mean, it's kind of hard to review a show that only has 4 episodes or 5 episodes. I don't remember how many right now. But I mean, there's so much potential. I really like the direction that this show is going in. As far as relationships go, I mean, I personally can't help but ship him with Iris just because that's the way the comics go, and that's the way I kind of hope it'll go, because I really, really want Wally to be in the show. I don't even know how to express to you how much I want Wally to be in the show. I'm really, really happy that the Flash is finally getting a spotlight, and that, you know, computer graphics have finally evolved to a point where that's actually possible without being ridiculously corny. I think it's got so much potential, and I'm so excited because it had, like, the best premiere ratings of any show on the CW ever, which is, like, so cool.
That's really great. I mean, he's a really underrated character. I'm really glad to see him outside of the Justice League, because that's really where you usually see him. He doesn't get his own, like, even animated shows, you know? He's always part of the Justice League, and it's really nice to see him break out of that and have his own spotlight, because he deserves it, man. You go, Glen Coco.
Tell us what you think of the shows. What do you hope is going to come up in either one of them? Tell us if you agree or disagree with our judgment of certain situations, and what you think is going to happen on the shows, and whether you liked them or not. So anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'll put our social media links in the down bar. You can click here to subscribe, and you can click here to look at our last video where we talked about the first few episodes of American Horror Story Freak Show. It's scarring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, until next week, have a nice life. Goodbye.
Bye.